Hey Joe Robert, it's Folks here, and today I am actually pretty upset. This is a pretty big deal, and what I am sad about is that you are letting people like me on YouTube build your print-on-demand business for you. That's a common beginner mistake, and today we're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about 3 more print-on-demand mistakes that beginners always make. 1 plus 3 equals 4. I have 4 beginner mistakes for you today. These are things that I've done in my own print-on-demand stores, and today I hope to help you avoid them. If you want to see some of the things that I would recommend you to do and strategies that I've used in my own print-on-demand businesses to generate a full-time income, make sure to check out some of my other videos here on the channel. I make a lot of print-on-demand product reviews as well as store reviews and just basically showing you some things that you should do with your print-on-demand store. Now back to the mistakes. Let's talk about why you shouldn't look to me to build your print-on-demand business for you. So many people find out about print-on-demand and they realize how awesome it is that you and I can make an online store. We can choose products, we can make designs for those products, and then we can actually try to sell those products without ever having to order inventory or even ship any of the products ourselves when we make a sale. That's because we are working with a print-on-demand supplier who is going to do that for us. To me, this is an amazing thing, and obviously you do too if you are here watching this video. And if you need help getting started to actually put together a store like this, I do have a free course. It's linked down in the description. Inside, there's over 30 step-by-step videos that will show you the process to actually build out your store. The best part is, it is completely free, and like I said, there's a link down in the description. So yeah, print on demand is exciting, and that's why you're here watching this video. And sadly, a lot of people out there will watch people on YouTube and they'll try to do exactly what those people say. Some of you even watch some of my videos and hear about things that I'm doing in my own print on demand stores and you try to copy them. And sometimes that could be one of the worst things that you actually do. For example, sometimes people will watch a video, they'll see somebody talking about a specific print on demand product and they'll just automatically want to sell that product on their store as well. Don't do that. Sell what you want to sell. Sell what you think would be good for your niche and for your customers and for your design ability. Sell things that you ultimately think you are going to have fun selling. The worst thing ever that could happen to you is if you had to stay up late working on your print-on-demand store, but you didn't want to stay up late working on your print-on-demand store because you didn't like what you were selling on your print-on-demand store and you weren't having fun running your print-on-demand store. Because in this situation, you base your entire store off of what you saw someone in a video online talking about doing. Imagine a situation where you did this and about a month or 2 months into running your store, you decided that you wanted to go in a completely different direction. I've been there and it's not a good place to be. And honestly, I see it happen to a lot of beginners out there. Yes, you should watch videos and yes, you should seek advice and seek help or even just try to learn as much as you can, but at the end of the day, you should be basing what you want to do with your store based on what you want to do with your store, not with what someone else says to do with your store. Now that we got mistake number 1 out of the way, make sure to subscribe to my channel so that way I can tell you what to do with your store. I'm kidding, but here is mistake number 2. It's all about your supplier, the print-on-demand company that you are actually working with. They are ultimately the ones that you are going to be relying on to help you with your business. And the mistake that I see people make is that they choose the wrong supplier. A print-on-demand supplier is a company that offers products that we can sell on a print-on-demand store. Print-on-demand as a business model simply just means that your items are printed and shipped as you actually need them, meaning when you make a sale. The way this works is we are going to start a store. We're going to sync that store with a supplier. We're then going to create a product for our store to sell that is offered by the supplier. And when we make a sale, they will prepare the item. They will handle everything. They will package it, they will ship it, and they will even upload a tracking number for you. And this, honestly, is one of the reasons why I prefer to use Shopify. If you're using another platform like WooCommerce or BigCommerce or Wix or Squarespace, there's a chance that this process won't actually be automated and there could be some things that you will have to set up on the back end. With Shopify, it works automatically, and that's great. And like I said at the beginning, inside of my free course, link down in the description, I show you how to set all of this up on a Shopify store. Now, choosing a print-on-demand app to work with choosing a print-on-demand supplier is not really an easy task, so I'm not surprised that people make mistakes with this. Ultimately, you need to find a supplier and then install their app onto your store. An app is a software that the supplier has created so that way you can actually sync your store with them. That way, when you make a sale, it ends up going to them and they're able to ship the product for you. And there's really just 5 things that I would consider looking at when you choose a supplier. These are not in a particular order, so don't look at them as most important or least important. Ultimately, these are just 5 things that I wanted to share when it comes to actually making sure that you are choosing a supplier that is going to be a good fit for you. The first is the product quality. Of course, it is going to be important for you to make sure that you are using a supplier that produces a good product. You can check on this by looking at reviews of the supplier. You could type them in on YouTube and see if other people are making reviews on the products. You could search on Facebook for a Facebook group for the supplier. Oftentimes, some of the most popular suppliers will actually have a Facebook group created. You could join that and you could see different sample photos that people are posting, and that would give you a good indication on how the products are actually turning out. Obviously, if you see a lot of people complaining or showing that the products are arriving damaged or showing that the products actually have a defect or that the designs that are being printed have errors, you would be able to use that to make a decision on whether or not you wanted to actually use the supplier. Obviously, a really simple way as well to actually get an indication on the product quality from a specific supplier would be to order a sample yourself. Most suppliers allow you to easily order samples inside of their app. Some of them will even give you a discount every single month on ordering samples, but in the case that the supplier that you're looking to use does not offer samples in that way, all you would need to do is order a product from your store and treat it like a real order, except you're going to be having it sent to you. One way that I typically do this is by creating a 100% discount code for my store, and then I go on it and I place an order as if I was a customer, but I use that discount code, making the order free for me. Of course, on the back end, I will pay the supplier for the product, but in order to actually order the sample, that would be a really quick way to get it done. The second thing would be to look at the products that are actually available from a supplier that you are thinking about using. Oftentimes, when you open a print-on-demand store, your product catalog will grow quite quickly. You might find some really cool items from lots of different suppliers, and before you know it, you are using a ton of different suppliers on your store. That is inherently not a bad thing. You can use as many suppliers as you want. There's actually over 400 of them inside of the Shopify app store. The problem is, the more suppliers you use, the more mess you end up creating for yourself on the back end. This is not necessarily going to be a bad thing if you have just a handful of suppliers on your store, but it can quickly get out of hand if you have too many. So my tip to you would be to try and choose a supplier that has all or most of the products on it that you would like to sell. That way you can try to work with as little suppliers as possible and keep your organization for your store a little bit more clean. Number 3, when it comes to choosing a supplier, is something that a lot of people don't actually think about. Imagine a situation where you are working with a specific print-on-demand supplier and you are beginning to make a lot of sales on your store. Imagine that you have an issue with one of your orders. Maybe the customer never receives it, or maybe the customer does receive it and the item is damaged. Now you, as the print-on-demand store owner, need to contact your supplier. Now imagine a situation where the supplier you are trying to contact does not have good customer service. Maybe they don't respond to your email, maybe they don't have any way for you to easily contact them and you're just spent looking for hours on their site trying to find a way to submit an issue, or maybe the issue that you are trying to resolve is something that they don't want to work with you on. Ultimately, customer service is a big deal. When it comes to print-on-demand suppliers that I work with, I like to choose ones that either have a really easily accessible customer support email address visible on their app, or I like to use a supplier that has a live chat feature available for me inside of the app. The live chat feature is a great way for you to be able to just easily chat with someone and not have to wait for an email back. This this can be a really quick way to resolve issues with customers, or if you're just having an issue with their app in general, you can get answers to your questions relatively quickly. Number 4 is product pricing. Sometimes print-on-demand suppliers will offer the same product as somebody else, meaning you could have multiple print-on-demand providers that are all offering a very similar product, and they all could be very similar in terms of their quality and in terms of the shipping speed and all of that. However, sometimes you will see a pretty big discrepancy between pricing. Now, I can't speak to why some providers are going to be cheaper than others, but in my experience, there oftentimes is a pretty big discrepancy. In a lot of cases, it will be good for you to sort of shop around and perhaps go with the most profitable option, meaning maybe choose the one that has the lower price. In most cases, the quality is not going to be that different. And like I said in the first thing that I described here, the product quality is something that you can assess on your own by ordering samples or by looking into it and seeing what others are saying about it. Now, number 5 is something that is super important. When it comes to choosing a print-on-demand supplier, you are going to want to make sure that you are choosing a supplier that is producing the product in the location that you want to sell to. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to always do this, but it is something to keep in mind. Obviously, there are lots of suppliers here on my channel that create the products and ship them from China. And if you have watched my channel, you guys know that I primarily sell to the United States, but I've also recommended and talked about apps and suppliers that I have used that are based in Asia, meaning at sometimes I don't actually follow this rule. However, when it comes to selling to other places in the world, this could be a much bigger deal. I am not an expert in it, but if you are planning to sell to Europe and you are using a supplier that is not in Europe, your customers that live in Europe may actually pay some import fees on your product. So when choosing a supplier, if you are selling to a place that could have some sort of import fee, if the product is an international delivery, you might want to look into other suppliers that would be available that would not have that sort of an import fee on them. Obviously, choosing a supplier can be a big thing to think about with a lot of different things that I just went through, and if you are overwhelmed by it, do not be. Ultimately, I do have some videos here on my channel where I review some of my favorites. This video here is the most recent one I made, detailing different suppliers that you could check out. Now for mistake number 3. And honestly, most people getting into print on demand are doing this. This is something that can make your print on demand store fail very, very quickly. And honestly, it can cause you to quit. What I'm talking about is trying not to have too high of expectations for your print on demand store. A lot of people are honestly just too hard on themselves. This is something that I am guilty of as well. A lot of people have it in their head that if they're going to start a print on demand store, that within their first 30 days, they need to be making thousands of dollars. They have it in their head that if they start a print-on-demand store and that doesn't happen, that it means that they are a complete failure and they've just wasted their time. And this, honestly, gets them so overwhelmed to the point where they just feel like the most safe option to avoid any failure at all is to just not start. They get overwhelmed with choosing a supplier, choosing a niche, figuring out their designs, naming their store, doing the social media marketing and all of that, that they just freeze and do nothing. Like I said at the beginning though, if you want help with some of that stuff, down in the description I do have a free course where I go through a lot of those things that you will need to think about in order to actually start your store. Putting too much pressure on yourself is a major mistake, and when you're starting print on demand, you almost want to view your first few weeks or your first few months as a trial period where you are going to attempt to learn as much as possible. You want to go into it thinking that if you can just get started and learn a few things, that you would actually be a success. You want to also make sure that you are treating any mistakes as something that you can learn from. And that kind of brings me to mistake number 4, which is doing the wrong thing for too long. Sometimes it's very easy to get attached to your print-on-demand store. I can remember having designs that I made at the beginning that I thought were awesome. And when no one else thought they were awesome and they didn't sell, I repeatedly just tried to find other ways to try and sell them. I felt like the designs were awesome and that people just couldn't realize it, and ultimately I ended up spending way too much time time selling the wrong things. Something like this is also another example of me doing that. This product here is a cell phone wallet case. This is a cell phone case. Inside, you can put your cell phone. You can also treat it as a wallet with your bills and your cards. And ultimately, when this product came out, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I began actually creating an entire store dedicated to selling this. The problem is what I did at the beginning was destined to fail. And unfortunately, because I loved this product too much, it ultimately made me spend way too much time and money trying to make the store a success. This is a product that is primarily purchased by women. I don't have any data for you on that, but in both my life experience and in experience selling this, this is a product that primarily women are going to want to buy. And what I had done was chose a bunch of niches that were pretty much dominated by men, and I was creating rather masculine designs, and I was actually running Facebook and Instagram ads to men trying to sell this product. I was getting a lot of people commenting on the ads, saying the design looked cool. I was having people come to the store and ultimately look at it, but I was not making sales. And ultimately, it was because I was trying to sell them a product that I saw on YouTube and thought was cool and wanted to force them to buy it. I ended up trying over and over again, literally for months, without making any sales on this store. I should have quickly realized that maybe this wasn't a good option and major changes were needed, or the project should have been scrapped completely. My point is, if you are sensing that something is not working, oftentimes, yes, you might be able to make some subtle adjustments and ultimately make an improvement to the results that you're seeing. But if you are making adjustment after adjustment and nothing is improving, there's a good chance that you perhaps should go in the complete opposite direction. And that is my point here. So many people start their print-on-demand store and ultimately they start it in a way that might not actually produce results, and it takes them too long to realize it. By the time they do realize it, too much time and effort has been spent on the store, and ultimately they get a little bit discouraged, and most of them end up actually quitting the entire print-on-demand process. And that is something I don't want you to do. And that is why we spent so long today going through these things in this video, because ultimately these are 4 mistakes that a lot of beginners make with their print-on-demand store, and I hope that you will avoid them. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.